Snow White makes me feel a little bit sick because I agree with the BBC.
I'm hyperventilating a little bit. If I fall over, pick me up because I've got some things to say.
The movie has a major identity crisis as the toning down of the message during filming leaves a disjointed mess. There are all kinds of problems, such as Snow White acting like two different people. Is she the nice, innocent, caring little girl, or a complete arsehole?
Weird.
In the movie, it seems to come down to who she's dealing with. When she's around the bandits, she's a massive hole. But when she's around the dwarfs or in the main town, then they go for innocent and sweet. Except this is Rachel Zegler, that they can't have her be innocent and sweet.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business. Thanks.
This is the loud, whining, modern femininity, where she'll actually go to someone's house in desperate need of help, and then tell the Seven Dwarfs that it's too dirty for them and they need to clean it up for her.
Now you wash the dishes.
You wash the dishes.
Tidy up the room.
You tidy up the room.
Clean those cobwebs.
You clean the fireplace.
There are lots of these little contradictions in the movie, where in the original, she'll be like, you can do this, and you can clean that, and you can clean that, and I'll use the broom.
And I'll use the broom.
Where she offers to cook, clean, and keep house for them, in return for them giving her a very generous favour of letting her stay in their house, putting them in danger because the Queen's after her, so she needs to provide some value back.
And if you let me stay, I'll keep house for you. Wash and sew and sweep and cook.
Not in this. In this, Snow White very much believes that she's a 10. She's the table.
And he'll use the broom.
And I'll use the broom.
No, you're a bloke over there. You need to do everything for me. You can clean your own pissing house until it's up to my standards. I'm not going to cook for you. Why would I do that? You've got hands yourself. This kind of messaging is all throughout the movie. True love's kiss right at the end. In the original movie, he kisses her when she's asleep, and then, when she comes round, puts her arms out to him. He picks her up and carries her around. It's a very feminine, submissive gesture. In this, when she wakes up, she practically jumps on him.
I didn't become a little bit of a slag. I became a total slag.
It's like you got a woman with a nudity switch.
Because you can't have him in control of her. You can't have him carrying her around. She'd have no agency. She has to be in control of herself. And so we strip this movie of anything that could be conceived as a normative gender role. Disney want your children to know that what's been normal for thousands of years is very wrong. Perverts in Hollywood know best.
You've got one or two witnesses to that. Lock the doors.
And it's not just matters of romance that go awry, although when we get to what the prince has turned into, that'll be another can of worms. We even come down to the major messaging about why the movie exists in the first place. The original is a very simple story of an older woman jealous that a younger woman is becoming more attractive than her. It speaks to an inevitable part of life where essentially as you get older, you lose your attractiveness, lose your power over men, because there's always a new, younger, more attractive generation coming to replace you. So while Snow White's story was the lesson that you should stop listening to older women, they're jealous, bitter, and aim to destroy you, you should go off, meet other people, and find a husband to settle down with, and live happily ever after. Everyone focuses on that story though, but the evil queen had her own story. That you may be jealous and bitter, but if you try and fight the natural course of life, and hold on to the beauty that you're losing over time, try to compete with the more attractive people, it will lead to your downfall. There was a lesson for the adults in the room as well. You'll fail to compete and it won't end well. Of course, all of that messaging is gone in the original movie because Gal Gadot is more attractive than Rachel Zegler. There's no life lesson to be had here, and instead it gets replaced with something far more sinister. They make a revisionist Marxist call to arms, where it is Disney's closest film to paraphrasing the Communist Manifesto, and it does, even if it doesn't understand it. The film can't replicate the original because that's too simple and obviously true. So if we want to spin a new lie, we're going to have to overcomplicate it, try and introduce nuance, try to pretend that good is evil and evil is good so we can actually tell a story we agree with.
The political equivalent of the house wine at a suburban Indian restaurant. Disconnected to the point of autism.
There's a lot of talk at the start of the movie about how our parents are fair and free and everyone just lives in harmony. Didn't mean that to rhyme, but here we are. That the land belongs to anybody who works it, literally a line from the movie, and that if we all just give up our own personal property and any rights to own it, if we stop caring about ourselves, then magically a new world will spring into existence of abundance and magic. Everyone will have everything as long as you stop trying to make anything of yourself. It's just a replication of the rather childish, ignorant, and quite frankly evil idea that you shouldn't be rewarded for your work and that if you just give away everything you own, everyone else will do that too. It completely goes against all of human evolution, all of human behavior, and every single demonstrable facet of life, because these two people are too thick to understand how the world works and couldn't comprehend an idea if it was there punching in the face. But this is the basis of the entire movie. That everyone just works the fields and then they all have food. Doesn't talk about that lazy git down the road who can't be bothered to do any work. Or why the guy who's clearly producing more shouldn't get to keep more. And what happens when they're not happy with their centrally distributed wealth? When they want to improve their life among their meager subsistence which the parents own. And yet the story pitches this as perfect. Now, there are some based ideas, like the Queen kills these stupid fools and then takes over, and the movie is very keen for you to know that she's an evil queen. It tells you she's evil by saying she introduces taxes, easily the most base part of the movie. And yet throughout it, that's the only evil part she is. And Snow White, you're supposed to think she's good, despite the fact that she goes to the Queen and starts saying, oh, these people are starving, that they have stuff to eat, they just don't have sweet things. And her solution to that is maybe give them an apple pie. That's the specific example the movie uses. An apple pie, something sweet. It means you have more than just sustenance, more than just surviving, makes you feel alive. And when the retort comes back, you've never been this opinionated before, she says, I just feel like I need something sweet. She didn't go to him and start complaining for the good of the people. She went to the Queen and started whining because she wanted an apple pie personally. Snow White is a selfish cow.
Could be possibly true.
You're evil if you don't give people apple pies. I mean, quite frankly, if you want to shove this message in my face, I demand a higher quality of indoctrination. Any logical person would take this to believe that her entire worldview is nonsense because she's clearly just out for herself and not this mystical utopia. But Snow White is too thick for that. It's also nonsense that the land belonged to anybody that worked it because her parents owned it and then she owned it. She wanted everyone to think that they all lived in this utopia where they all equally owned things, as long as she was in control, in power, and owned all the land, all the buildings, all the profit. In fact, the main through line through the story is that the Queen takes Snow White's power away from her, takes all her privilege and wealth and land off her, and Snow White is jealous and wants it back. This is a story about Snow White's thirst for power.
But there's something dangerous about those women.
She's the next one. Twice in the movie, the Queen even goes through her ruling style. That Snow White is like a rose, and the Queen is like a diamond. A rose may look nice, but it's all soft and rots, and it doesn't lead, it just fades away at the first sign of trouble. Whereas the Queen is a diamond. It's hard, indestructible, and knows how to rule. She's not wrong. One of the problems of the movie is that the Queen is the better leader. She set up an army can defend its borders from invaders. The people in there are a hell of a lot safer than they were under the supposed utopia. Talk about a mixed message. Snow White is definitely one of Disney's most bluntly political films. Largely because it's clearly written by idiots. These are people that don't understand the world, don't understand politics, philosophy, or have an IQ over 85. Then that's why the more complicated the messaging, the deeper they try to go, they just contradict themselves. They run into reality. It doesn't make any sense. But they're too stupid to realize any of these things. What you end up with is a movie, a story, and characters where everything is unearned. Even the romance with Snow White's new fancy man.
The hot white guy.
Comes out of absolutely nowhere. There's nothing between them at all, and then suddenly they're just at a dwarf's house singing about how in love they are together. The only reason it happens is because they know in the future true love's kiss is gonna have to wake her up. Something else which is stupid. The Queen knocks out Snow White with an apple as normal, and then she's asleep for about 30 seconds before the prince well, he's not a prince, he's a thief. It's very Daredevil actually. He comes along, kisses her, and she's just up and at it again. There was no point putting her to sleep in the first place. She falls asleep on a rock, some birds go and fetch him, and he comes, must have been like 5 minutes in total. So that's pointless, the romance is pointless. The dwarves have no purpose in this movie at all. One of the interesting things with the dwarves in the original wasn't just sort of their comedic bits. The visual comedy that happens during the songs and stuff, any kind of laughter is gone from this movie. But one of the more interesting aspects is once they realised the Queen had, what they thought, killed Snow White, they chased her with pickaxes and anything they had to hand. They were going to take vengeance on the person that had killed their friend. Now at that point, she's at the top of a mountain, about to push a boulder down and kill the wall. Lightning comes down, the rock crawls underneath her and she falls to her death. But if that hadn't happened, those dwarves would have been putting a pickaxe through her skull. After her! The closest you get to that in this is the Queen making a dagger and giving it to Snow White and pointing it at her own chest. Snow White should have just shoved. There's no reason she shouldn't have just shoved. Seconds before this happened, she finds out the evil Queen murdered her father. This is justice. It's the moral thing to do. Of course, Snow White just goes, well, at that point, you get what you deserve. Of course, Snow White saves herself by the Queen telling, I think it's 4 guards maximum, to kill her. And she goes, oh, I know you, Dave, Susan, Bob. You saw you in a field once, didn't I, Bob? And they go, oh my God, she knows my name. And turn on the queen. It's like, well, okay, she turned 4 guards against you, but you've got an army. Just use all the other guards you've got in your castle to kill them people as well. No. Turn 4 guards now. What's a queen to do?
With a mob of revolting peasants.
So the queen runs away up to her bedchamber, smashes the magic mirror, and then gets sucked inside it. For no reason whatsoever, she's just a bit angry and smashes it. She must have known what would happen. She's essentially a witch in this. She would have known the effects of smashing the mirror, but just does it in rage because she can't control herself. Typical woman. But that leads to the end of the movie being totally unsatisfying. She essentially topped herself. Snow White didn't do anything. She didn't prove herself to be a leader. She didn't even have the guts to punish the evil queen. She was a coward. Sean Bean was correct in Game of Thrones when he said you need to have the courage to use the axe yourself. But this is what happens when you have a masculine storyline of essentially leading a revolution against a kingdom. It would be a very gory, bloody, and lots of death affair. But you don't like any of that. And so you've got a male storyline with a female character who just doesn't have the guts to follow through with what's necessary for the story. She doesn't have the male morality of, this is justice, you get what you deserve. She has no, we're all equal and everything's the same, and so good is the same as evil, and I can't really blame you for being horrid. I have to care and forgive you for everything. It just doesn't work. The only reason a queen can even have that morality is because a king is going to go, no, I'll do it, and then cut his head off.
Rid the universe of your filth. Why don't you just die?
The king protects the queen from having to take on that burden so that she can maintain her innocence, and that'll make her a better mother. All the modern thinking removes this, and they want to put the princess in the role of the prince, but have no idea what that would actually require. And so all you end up with is these problems magically solving themselves. It's not believable, it's not earned, and it leaves a movie with no soul. There's nothing anyone can grab onto because the women, they liked the Snow White story. They wanted the prince. They wanted to come save them. They wanted to look forward to the gallant knight coming to woo them. They liked the idea of the men taking glorious vengeance on the people that had wronged them, whereas the men can take on the heroic role, saving Snow White and cheering on the dwarves as the dwarves take glorious vengeance on the people that have wronged them. But yes, all I really want to do is charge into battle with a full suit of armor and a sword against evil. The problem is that these are two separate and distinct stories that appeal to everybody. They require gender roles to exist in the first place, and that is what Disney has removed from all modern entertainment. And so now, nobody's acting human. There's no story that appeals to either side in the movie. It's just people going through the motions and then thing happens at the end. The queen has to defeat herself because under their morality, there is no way of punishing evil, punishing the crime. There is no justice, because you can't punish anybody to dish out the justice. This is recently seen in Daredevil, where you literally have a criminal complaining that going to prison for his crimes is too inconvenient for him because it takes time away from him leeching off the state.
Last time I got 30 days. Know what happened? I missed my SSI appointment and they cut my benefits. But it takes forever to get that shit back regular.
And don't you realize how difficult it is for him to go back to leeching off the state again once he's been punished for his crimes?
So why not get the caramel corn? I like that shit and it tastes good.
And Daredevil agrees.
You're right.
Daredevil's only job as a superhero is to push him off a roof. It's to make sure that he goes away for as much time as possible. Daredevil's job is you go through the system and be punished, or I punish you. That's the job of the male hero. Whereas now it's, I can understand, you were just a victim of circumstance. It's not that you're evil and made decisions that you should be held accountable for. Oh, it's the environment that made you that way.
Problem we have is your rap sheet. 25 pages of offenses, drugs, trespassing, panhandling.
How come you guys always gotta bring that up?
Meanwhile, the criminal's complaining that putting him in prison costs 5 times more than just giving him the thing he stole. And I'm like, yes. Based.
They're willing to spend 5 times more to lock me up than they're willing to spend to feed me.
Not only is that worth it, but it'd be also cheaper if we just gave you to Daredevil. This is a recurring problem because it's a problem with the ideology of the people in Hollywood making the movies. And it won't be fixed until that ideology is changed. You can't have heroes if you don't believe in hierarchy, because the hero has to be better than everyone else. He has to be superior to everybody else. They even get the dwarves in on this degeneracy, by the way, where the writer just speaks through Doc. It's so out of character, so out of place, and so unlike anything in the rest of the movie. It was the same thing as when She-Hulk would look at the camera and speak to the audience, except it never felt like She-Hulk. It always felt like the writers speaking through She-Hulk at the audience, going, no, we know this. We did it deliberately. We want you to know that we know this. You get that with Doc when one of the dwarves calls the thieves Basically criminal scum.
Human criminals. Those rebels are nothing but thieves.
And Doc responds with, well, I'm going to try and play the clip, because if I don't think you'd believe me.
They're actually a band of erstwhile actors whose sustenance was made unstable by the Queen's greedy economic policies, which forced them into a liminal space where ethics and motives are ill-defined.
And just in case I have to cut that out for any reason, he says they're erstwhile actors whose sustenance was made unstable by a Queen's greedy economic policies, which forced them into a liminal space where ethics and motives are ill-defined. No, he didn't. They're criminal scum. Oh, but the Queen made me... No, they didn't. Everyone else is working fine because everyone's working. They're in a forest surrounded by animals, plants, and trees. They could easily hunt and gather their own food in this forest. They choose not to because they're lazy twats. That's why they go to the Queen and start stealing off her. They can't be bothered to get their own stuff. Can't be bothered to hunt their own food. The writer is just trying to portray it as they're a freedom fighter. Not their fault they're criminal scum. The environment around them has made them this way. They can't be held responsible for their actions. They're good guys, really. Oh, it really seems like the bandits are meant to be stand-ins for, well, the kind of people you see right now with Tesla, or certain other people that made buildings combust, and it's desperate to play them as the good guys. Robin Hood, this guy ain't. And the weird thing is, no matter how they try and go, well, you can't just have people in roles because then there'll be predictable behavior. Well, the Huntsman's changed a bit from what he was in the original. The moment he appeared on screen, you knew he was going to be amazing. I do have to say, for a feudal kingdom which doesn't have things like cars or aeroplane travel, this entire area is like London Airport. Got everybody from all over the world in it. And for some reason, they never interbred and just became like a local population. Everyone's very distinct, as if they just flew there 2 weeks ago. Even the band of criminal filth outside in the forest, they have every single tick box you could possibly believe. Also, very cut down parts. They don't really serve much point in the movie, except one guy, because he shoots a crossbow bolt at the Queen. That is the dwarven criminal scum. He's the only one that really has a part in it, except for the leader, who's the romance.
The hot white guy.
Most of them never speak. A couple of them have one line, but I'm assuming in some original cut they had far larger parts. Because otherwise, I don't know why they're in the movie, and I don't know why there's so many of them. Maybe that got cut down the same time the romance story got added in, because we know Rachel's original comments. This isn't going to be about a love story, so it seems they had to add one in afterwards, which is why it's so crap, poorly done, and unearned. Because we just do that in reshoots and pick up a scene, that'll be fine. As for the songs, the new ones which are added in are awful. They've stripped out any of the songs which had original meaning, like One Time My Prince Will Come, and replaced them with awful twaddle at best, and evil at worst. So in the original, at the start of the movie, you had a song where she's singing down a well, and the sound bounces back up on her and acts like an echo of the lyrics to her, and she's listening back to her own voice. Whereas in the modern version of Snow White, we just have Rachel Zegler singing, Echo, Echo, Echo!
Echo, echo, echo!
This is the kind of bluntness that goes throughout the entire movie, including the propaganda. Someday My Prince Will Come has been completely removed because you can't want a man. One of the problems with wanting a man in your life is it means you're not married to the state, and that would be a bad thing.
Very well.
And you have things like princess problems, where it's just him going, oh, I don't care about princess problems, and giving her an excuse to be an arse back to him. The entire song seemed like 2 seconds away from talking about the wage gap. And I think it was just there to play on the trope of, oh, well, actually, he's pretending he doesn't care about it, but we all know he does, because nobody can resist a clunge. Can't just be that he's got his own thing going on and you're irrelevant. And so, Snow White, leading a revolution for the kingdom, she's gonna need, well, a montage. We're gonna need a montage. She's a little stupid princess that's done nothing her entire life. She's definitely going to need to learn, improve, train. We can't fit in years of her life becoming the best person she can be, a peak swordswoman, fighting a long, drawn-out battle, learning the skills of the craft to overthrow the Queen and her army. The only way we can fit that in is going to be a montage. No, this isn't a story about a man. It's not built with male ethics and morality, so none of that matters. Self-improvement doesn't matter. Don't you realize Snow White was perfect from the start? She's always been this superhero who can just save people with her own existence. The only thing that's required is for her to realize how powerful she really is.
I close my eyes and see the girl I'm meant to be.
Then other people will realize it as well. This is the Captain Marvel story arc. I've always been amazing. I just need to realize how powerful I am, and then I can just solve the world's problems inherently because I'm perfect. There's even a song in this story about how you don't have to try and do something. You just need to put it out into the world. You just need to speak your truth into the world.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true He's letting
Echo. Back to you. They put a song in this about manifesting.
your voice will carry through and bring that dream to you.
If you don't know what manifesting is, it's something from TikTok made by lunatics. It's the idea that if you say something out loud, the world gives it to you. And so if you keep saying that you're a rich person, you become rich. It doesn't require any effort, self-improvement, training, education, learning.
Every shot showing little improvement.
Maybe you're adapting your entire philosophy to one that lives in reality because you're a deranged, evil bint. None of that matters. You don't have to do any work, get people on side, networking. There's no effort involved. Just say what you want and it'll echo. Back to you.
But I'm still waiting here.
This is a horrible lesson to tell anybody, but especially kids. And yet that is this entire movie. She realizes how powerful she is. She realizes she's really strong and not a selfish cow at all. And then she walks into town and everyone just immediately lines up behind her and starts following her because don't you know how amazing Rachel Zegler is? She appears and people just follow her naturally because she's just that good. This is the plot. I say this is as deep as it gets. A man in this story would have had to fight wars, lose friends. He would have had challenges, but Snow White, she just has to believe and say it out loud to manifest her destiny. She is the table, you see. There's even a part where she's telling the criminals, when they say, we'll fight the Queen's guards for you, you just run off and save yourself. She goes, no, I must stay and fight. She doesn't stay and fight. No, I'll come and help. She doesn't help them. What she does is tells the animals to help them, and then the animals put on her dress behind a tree to lure them away, and then they fly off. What Rachel Zegler helping in this scenario is she steals one of their horses. Yes, she commits a crime like they did. That was her contribution. You could have just left us. Well, actually, I did, but I told the animals to save you first. Aren't I amazing? That's why, actually, this is an incredibly selfish story for Snow White. She wants to get back her kingdom, her power, her land. Oh, it all belongs to everyone. It really just belongs to her. She wants apple pies for her. She wants to get this band of people to do things for her. She wants to get the dwarves to clean up their house for her, so it's suitable for her standards as she lives in it. And then she goes back to the Queen so that she can get all the people to stand behind her to make her feel amazing. This isn't a story about one innocent girl finding true love. This is just a story about a selfish, entitled princess that got a throne taken off her, and she's a jealous cow and wants it back. And along the way, you get given every horrific value you could possibly have that would lead you to a civilizational cesspool. And no amount of stupid gits dancing around in white outfits at the end will change that. You haven't just destroyed a classic story, you've replaced it with filth. And if that doesn't summarize all of Snow White and the marketing in the movie, I don't know what does. My problem with Snow White was always Rachel Zegler's comments, but it turns out her original ones were true, if not toned down because of the backlash. But I wasn't expecting all the other crap in it. I actually just thought they would tone it down and make it like the original. And they didn't. Couldn't. They managed to strip anything of any meaning out of the original story and just replace it with their own filth. Modern Hollywood, everybody. Isn't it great? They managed to make a film even the critics couldn't stand, despite the fact that agrees with them ideologically, because this ideology can't make a satisfying story, because it removes all the fundamental truths of humanity from it, and so it will never be satisfying. There'll always be something missing, a gaping, infected hole, where the main character, the protagonist, the hero is meant to be, and in this case, that hole is Rachel Zegler. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe more videos like this in the future, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.